"Mommy, please don't eat that cake," her 12-year-old son Cameron screamed, storming towards her. He had burst through the front door so fast that his backpack was still sliding off his shoulder, books spilling onto the hardwood floor. Naomi Pierce froze with the fork halfway to her mouth. The chocolate cake looked perfect, sitting on their kitchen counter with a little card that read, "Thinking of you, Jay." She had assumed it was from her colleague Jennifer, who sometimes sent treats to the office. But the way her son's eyes were wild with panic made her hand tremble. "Cameron, what's wrong?" She set the fork down carefully, her heart starting to pound. "I heard them, Mom. I heard Dad and Miss Jennifer talking in Dad's car last week." Cameron was breathing hard, his brown eyes filling with tears. "I was walking home from Isaiah's house and I saw Dad's car parked near the coffee shop. The windows were down a little bit. I heard them talking about getting rid of you." The words hit Naomi like ice water. "What?" "They said something about a cake. Miss Jennifer said she would handle it, that she knew what to put in it to make it look like a heart attack." "Mom, I didn't understand at first. I thought maybe I heard wrong. But then Dad said something about insurance money and starting over." Cameron was crying now, and Naomi pulled him into her arms even as her own world tilted sideways. Derek. Her husband of 13 years. Jennifer Walsh, his colleague from the law firm. The pieces started clicking together in ways that made her feel sick. "Are you sure?" She had to ask, even though she could see the truth written all over her son's terrified face. "I'm sure, Mom. I've been watching that woman ever since. She came by the house twice when you were at work. I saw her give Dad an envelope. And yesterday I saw her delivery service drop this off." He pointed at the cake with a shaking finger. "The card says Jay. That's her. Miss Jennifer." Naomi looked at the beautiful cake. Chocolate with chocolate frosting, her favorite. It looked innocent. It looked delicious. It looked like death wrapped in pretty packaging. "Why didn't you tell me sooner, baby? I was scared you wouldn't believe me. And I thought maybe I heard wrong. But then this came and I knew. I just knew, Mom." Cameron wiped his eyes. "We can't let Dad know that I know. I don't know what he'll do." Naomi's mind was racing. She thought about the insurance policy Derek had pushed her to increase last month. She thought about how distant he had been, how many late nights at the office. She thought about Jennifer Walsh with her perfect smile and expensive clothes, always too friendly at firm events. Okay, listen to me, Cameron." She held her son's shoulders and looked into his eyes. "You did the right thing telling me. You saved my life. But we need to be smart about this. We can't let your father know that we know anything. What are we going to do? First, we're going to save this cake as evidence. Then I'm going to figure out exactly what they've been planning." She picked up her phone. "Go pack a bag with your important things. Tell your father I'm taking you to Aunt Simone's house tonight for a sleepover because I have an early work meeting tomorrow. Can you act normal?" Cameron nodded, his jaw set with determination that made him look older than 12. "I can do it, Mom." After he went upstairs, Naomi carefully moved the cake into a container. Her hands were shaking. She had been seconds away from eating it. Her own husband had tried to murder her. The man she had loved since college, the father of her child, had looked at her and decided she was worth more dead than alive. She took photos of the cake from every angle, including the card. Then she texted her best friend Simone. "Emergency. Need your help tonight. Don't ask questions yet. Tell Derek I called about Cameron's sleepover if he asks." Simone texted back immediately, "Come now. Doors open." When Derek came home an hour later, Naomi was chopping vegetables for dinner like nothing was wrong. Cameron was doing homework at the kitchen table. The cake was hidden in the garage inside a cooler that Derek never touched. "Hey babe," Derek said, kissing her cheek. Naomi fought not to flinch. "How was your day?" "Good. Busy." She kept her voice light. "Oh, Cameron's sleeping at Simone's tonight. I have that early presentation tomorrow." "Sounds good." Derek loosened his tie, glancing around the kitchen. "Someone sent you something?" "Just some cookies from work. Already ate them." She smiled and it felt like her face would crack. That night, after she dropped Cameron at Simone's house and made him promise not to call or text until she said it was safe, Naomi sat in her car outside a 24-hour laboratory. Inside the cooler next to her was the cake that was supposed to kill her. She had called ahead and explained she needed an emergency food analysis. The technician, a tired-looking woman named Patricia, took the cake with gloved hands. "What am I looking for?" Patricia asked. "Poison," Naomi said quietly. "Any kind of poison." Patricia's eyes widened, but she nodded. "I'll put a rush on it. Results by morning." Naomi drove home through empty streets. Derek was already asleep when she slipped into bed beside him. In the darkness, she stared at the ceiling and listened to him breathe. This man had plotted to kill her. This man had found someone to help him do it. This man thought she would just eat that cake and die, and he would cry at her funeral and collect the insurance money and probably marry Jennifer Walsh within a year. But she was alive. And now she knew. The revenge wouldn't be quick. It wouldn't be violent. It would be something far better. It would be justice, cold and complete and absolutely devastating. She closed her eyes, but she didn't sleep. The lab results came back at 6 in the morning. Naomi sat in her car in the laboratory parking lot, hands clutching the printed report. Patricia had texted her at dawn, "You need to see this in person. Now." The words on the paper blurred as her eyes filled with angry tears. Brodifacoum. Rat poison. Enough in that cake to cause massive internal bleeding within 24 to 48 hours. It would have looked like a sudden hemorrhage, maybe a stroke. The medical examiner might not have even tested for it without reason to suspect foul play. "Your son saved your life," Patricia said through the car window. "I made extra copies. One for you, one for the police. That's attempt murder, honey. Clear as day." Naomi nodded, unable to speak. Back at home, Derek was making coffee in the kitchen. He looked up when she came in and for a second, something flickered across his face. Surprise? Disappointment that she was still alive? "You're up early," he said. "Presentation prep." She poured herself coffee with steady hands. "How did you sleep?" "Fine." House felt empty without Cameron's noise. He smiled and it looked so normal. So familiar. This was the face she had kissed 1,000 times. The man she had trusted with everything. "He'll be back after school." Naomi sipped her coffee. "Hey, did you increase our life insurance recently?" "I got something from the insurance company." She watched his reaction carefully. Just a slight tension in his shoulders. "Yeah, just updating things. Financial planning. We're not getting any younger." "Smart," she said. "How much did you increase it to?" $2 million. Each of us." He wasn't looking at her. "Standard amount for people in our income bracket. $2 million. That's what her life was worth to him. That's what he and Jennifer had decided was enough to kill for." After Derek left for work, Naomi called in sick. Then she called her lawyer, a sharp woman named Ruth Anderson who handled her company's contracts. They had become friendly over the years. "Ruth, I need a different kind of help today," Naomi said. "It's personal. It's urgent. And it's probably going to shock you." 2 hours later, Naomi sat in Ruth's private office with the lab report, photos of the cake, and screenshots of their insurance policies spread across the desk. Ruth's face was grim. "Have you gone to the police?" "Not yet. I need to know all my options first. I need to know how to protect Cameron and myself. I need to know how to make sure Derek and Jennifer can't hurt us." Naomi leaned forward. "I want everything. The evidence, the divorce, the prosecution. Everything. Then we need to build an airtight case." Ruth pulled out a legal pad. "First thing, we preserve all evidence. Second, we check your finances. If Derek's planning to kill you for insurance money, there's probably a reason he needs it. Third, we document everything going forward. I mean everything." For the next 3 hours they worked. Ruth brought in an investigator, a former detective named Lewis Green who specialized in domestic cases. Together they started pulling threads. The financial records told a devastating story. Derek had been gambling. Online poker, sports betting, trips to Atlantic City that Naomi had thought were work conferences. He had lost over $200,000 in the past 18 months. Money from their savings, from his retirement account, from a secret credit card he had opened. Jennifer Walsh wasn't doing much better. Her private investigator found that she had invested in a failed restaurant venture and owed money to some dangerous people. She had maxed out 3 credit cards and was facing eviction from her expensive apartment. "They're desperate," Lewis said, pointing to the timeline he had created. "Desperate people do desperate things. Your husband increased your life insurance 3 months ago, right after Jennifer's restaurant went under. That's not coincidence. Can we prove they're working together?" Naomi asked. "Give me a few days. I'll get phone records, find out if they're meeting places they shouldn't be." Lewis looked at her with something like admiration. "Most people in your situation would be falling apart. You're handling this like a professional." "I have a son to protect," Naomi said simply. "I can fall apart later." Ruth set up a safety protocol. Naomi would only eat food she prepared herself or from restaurants where she watched it being made. She would vary her routine. She would keep her phone charged and location sharing on with Ruth and Simone at all times. Cameron would stay at Simone's house for the time being just to be safe. What about Cameron's testimony? Naomi asked. He's the one who heard them talking. We'll need it eventually, but we'll prepare him carefully. No 12-year-old should have to testify against their father, but if it comes to that, we'll make sure he's ready. Ruth paused. Naomi, are you sure you want to go through with prosecution? This will be public. It will be brutal. Naomi thought about that cake sitting on her counter. She thought about taking that bite. She thought about Cameron growing up without a mother because his father wanted insurance money. I'm sure, she said. That evening she went to pick up Cameron from Simone's house. Her best friend met her at the door with worried eyes. He told me everything, Simone said quietly. That poor baby. He's been carrying this alone for days. Cameron ran to Naomi the moment he saw her. She held him tight. We're going to be okay, she whispered. I promise you, baby. We're going to be okay. Is Dad going to jail? I don't know yet. But he's never going to hurt us. That's a promise. Back at home, Derek was watching television. He looked up when they came in, smiling that familiar smile. How was the sleepover, champ? Good, Cameron said, and Naomi was proud of how normal he sounded. Isaiah and I beat the new video game. That night, after Cameron was in bed, Derek reached for Naomi in the darkness. She made an excuse about being tired, about her stomach hurting. She lay awake long after he fell asleep, listening to his breathing and thinking about poison and insurance policies and how well you could think you knew someone while knowing nothing at all. Her phone buzzed silently. A text from Louis. Got the phone records. You need to see this. Tomorrow she would see proof of the affair. Tomorrow she would see how long her husband had been planning to murder her. Tomorrow the real work would begin. But tonight she was alive. Cameron was safe. And Derek had no idea that his perfect murder plan had been stopped by a 12-year-old boy with sharp ears and a brave heart. Naomi closed her eyes. The game had begun and she was going to win. Louis Green's office smelled like coffee and old paper. Naomi sat across from him 3 days later, looking at phone records spread across his desk like accusations. They've been talking for 14 months, Louis said, pointing to highlighted numbers. Multiple calls every day, sometimes lasting hours. Text messages that I'm working on getting the full content of, but the pattern is clear. This isn't just an affair. This is a partnership. Naomi stared at the numbers. 14 months. Over a year of lies. Over a year of Derek coming home and kissing her while he was planning her death with another woman. Here's where it gets interesting, Louis continued. Jennifer made 3 calls to a guy named Tommy Ricci. He's got a record for drug dealing and assault. 2 of those calls happened right before the insurance increase. The third one was the day before that cake was delivered to your house. You think he's involved? I think Jennifer might have gotten the poison from him. We're looking into it. Louis pulled out another document. But there's more. Derek's been moving money. Small amounts, trying not to trigger any alerts. He's opened a bank account in the Cayman Islands. Joint account with Jennifer Walsh. Naomi felt sick. They were going to run away together. That's my guess. Kill you, collect the insurance, wait a respectful amount of time, then disappear to the islands. They probably had it all planned out. Ruth walked in with more papers. I got the security footage from Derek's office building. You need to see this. She pulled up a video on her laptop. The timestamp read 3 weeks ago, late evening. The camera showed Derek and Jennifer in the parking garage, standing close by his car. There was no sound, but their body language said everything. Jennifer's hand on Derek's chest. His hand on her waist. Then they kissed, long and deep, before getting into his car together. His car doesn't leave for another 2 hours, Ruth said quietly. That's the parking garage, Naomi. They weren't even trying to hide it from the building cameras. They thought they were smart, Louis said. They thought they had it all figured out. But they got sloppy. Arrogant. That's going to be their downfall. Naomi watched the video 3 times. Each time hurt a little less. Each time made her more angry. Each time made her more determined. What's our next move? She asked. Ruth and Louis exchanged looks. We set a trap, Louis said. We let them think they're still in control. We document everything. And when we have absolutely everything we need, we drop the hammer so hard they never see daylight again. Over the next 2 weeks, Naomi became someone she barely recognized. She installed hidden cameras in their home with Louis's help, tiny things no bigger than buttons. 1 in the living room, 1 in Derek's home office, 1 in the kitchen. She put tracking software on Derek's phone when he was in the shower. She made copies of every financial document she could find. She smiled at Derek every morning. She made dinner every evening. She asked about his day and laughed at his jokes and pretended she didn't know that every word out of his mouth was a lie. Cameron stayed strong, but she could see the strain on him. He was quieter, more watchful. She found him crying in his room one night. "I miss when things were normal," he said. "I miss thinking Dad was a good person." "I know, baby. I miss that too." "Does he ask about me?" "Every day," Naomi said. "He asks how school is going, if you're doing okay. He still acts like he cares." "But he doesn't really care, does he?" "Not if he was going to kill you." Naomi had no good answer for that. She just held her son and let him cry. The cameras caught everything. Derek and Jennifer meeting at the house twice when they thought Naomi was at work. She had left early and parked down the street, watching on her phone as they entered her home, sat on her couch, drank her wine. On the recording their words were clear. "She didn't eat the cake," Jennifer said, frustrated. "I don't understand. It was her favorite." "Cameron showed up right when she was about to," Derek said. "Bad timing. We need to try again. My creditors are calling every day. If I don't pay them by next month, I'm done." I know. Derek rubbed his face. "We'll figure something out. Maybe we can try something else. Make it look like an accident." "What kind of accident?" "Car accident. Brake failure. I can mess with her car when she's asleep." Naomi's hands shook as she watched. He was already planning the next attempt. The cake had failed, so now he wanted to kill her on the road. She forwarded the recording to Ruth immediately. "That's conspiracy to commit murder," Ruth said when she called. "We have them, Naomi. We have everything we need." "Not yet," Naomi said. "I want the police to catch them in the act. I want there to be no doubt, no way for them to claim it was just talk. Lewis said he could set something up." "It's dangerous. They're planning to kill me anyway. At least this way we control when and how." Lewis came up with a plan. Naomi would pretend to take a business trip, but she would actually stay in a hotel nearby. Derek would think she was gone. The cameras would catch whatever he did next. If he tried to tamper with her car or break into her safe deposit box or anything else, they would have him. "We'll have police on standby," Lewis assured her. "The moment he does anything criminal, they move in. You and Cameron will be safe." Cameron went to stay with Simone again. This time, Naomi told him the whole plan. He deserved to know. "You're using yourself as bait," Cameron said, his voice small. "I'm making sure your father can never hurt either of us," Naomi corrected. "There's a difference. And I'll be safe. I promise." "Mom, I'm scared." "Me too, baby. But being scared doesn't mean we don't do what needs to be done." She packed a suitcase, made a big show of loading it into her car while Derek watched from the window. She kissed him goodbye, and he held her just a little too long, like he was measuring her for a coffin. "Drive safe," he said. "Text me when you get there." "I will," she lied. Naomi drove to the hotel 5 miles away. Lewis and Ruth were already there, along with 2 police detectives who had been briefed on the case. They set up monitors to watch the camera feeds from her house. "Now we wait," Detective Sandra Pierce said. "If he makes a move, we'll get him." They didn't have to wait long. 6 hours after Naomi supposedly left, Derek's car pulled into the driveway. Jennifer Walsh was with him. They entered the house together and the cameras caught everything. "Okay, we need to work fast," Derek said, heading straight for Naomi's home office. "Find anything that shows she knew about the money. Any emails, any documents. We need to get rid of them before the police can use them against us. What if she has copies? Then we say she was lying. That she was trying to frame us." Derek started rifling through files. "After the accident, no one will question it too much. Grieving widow, tragic car crash. We wait 6 months, then we disappear." Jennifer found Naomi's laptop. "This is password protected." "I know her passwords." Derek sat down and typed. The camera caught him accessing Naomi's email, her bank accounts, her documents. "Delete anything about the insurance. Delete anything about our accounts." They worked for an hour, destroying evidence, covering their tracks. They had no idea that every second was being recorded, that everything they deleted had already been backed up, that their words and actions were sealing their fate. Finally, Derek stood. "That's everything. Let's get out of here before a neighbor sees something." "When are you going to do it?" Jennifer asked. "The car thing? Tomorrow night. When she gets back. I'll tell her I'm taking her car to get the oil changed. She'll never know." They kissed in Naomi's living room in her home, surrounded by pictures of her and Cameron and a life they were trying to destroy. "Almost over," Jennifer whispered. "Then we're free." The detectives moved in as Derek and Jennifer reached the driveway. Squad cars appeared from both ends of the street. Derek's face went white when he saw the uniforms. In the hotel room, Naomi watched on the monitor as they were handcuffed. She watched Jennifer cry and Derek try to talk his way out of it. She watched them be pushed into separate police cars. Got them, Detective Pierce said with satisfaction. Breaking and entering, conspiracy to commit murder, attempted destruction of evidence. And that's just for starters. Naomi sat down, her legs suddenly weak. It was over. The investigation was over. Derek and Jennifer were in custody and Cameron was safe. Ruth put a hand on her shoulder. You did it? You got them? No, Naomi said, thinking of her brave son who had saved her life. We did it. The police station was cold and bright. Naomi sat in an interview room, giving her full statement to Detective Pierce and her partner, Detective James Morgan. It took 3 hours to go through everything. The cake, Cameron's testimony, the hidden cameras, the recordings, the financial evidence. I've been doing this 20 years, Detective Morgan said when she finished. I've never seen a victim collect this much evidence on their own. Most people panic, confront the suspect, make things worse. You built a prosecutable case. I had good help, Naomi said. And I had motivation. My son's safety. My own life. Speaking of Cameron, we'll need his testimony eventually, Detective Pierce said gently. I know he's young, but what he overheard is crucial evidence. Without it, we don't have proof of their initial intent. Naomi's stomach tightened. How soon? Not for a while. We need to build the case first. But prepare him. Get him a therapist if he doesn't have one. This is going to be hard on him. When Naomi finally left the station at midnight, Simone was waiting in the parking lot with Cameron. Her son ran to her and she held him so tight she thought she might break. Is it really over? Cameron asked. It's really over. But it wasn't not really. It was just beginning. The next morning, Derek's parents showed up at Simone's house where Naomi and Cameron were staying. Simone met them at the door, arms crossed. She doesn't want to see you, Simone said flatly. That's our son in jail, Derek's mother Patricia said, her voice shaking. She's making a terrible mistake. This is all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Simone's voice rose. He tried to poison her. He planned to kill her. We don't believe that. Derek would never hurt Naomi. She must have misunderstood something, taken something out of context. Patricia tried to look past Simone. Please, we just want to talk to her. Naomi appeared behind Simone. There's nothing to talk about. Derek tried to murder me for insurance money. The police have evidence. It's not a misunderstanding, Patricia. It's attempted murder. Derek's father Robert stepped forward. Think about Cameron. Think about what this will do to him. Having his father in prison. We can work this out as a family. Derek stopped being family when he decided I was worth more dead than alive, Naomi said coldly. You want to help? Tell him to plead guilty and make this easier on everyone. You're being unreasonable, Patricia said. Marriage is hard. People make mistakes. You can't throw away 13 years over a mistake. Get off this property, Simone said. Before I call the police myself. After they left, Naomi felt drained. Cameron had heard everything from upstairs. Grandma thinks I'm wrong to tell, he said quietly. She thinks I should have kept Dad's secret. Your grandmother is in shock and denial. You saved my life, Cameron. Never forget that. You're the bravest person I know. Ruth called that afternoon. Derek's been denied bail. The judge called him a flight risk given the offshore account. Jennifer made bail, but she's got an ankle monitor. She's already trying to cut a deal. What kind of deal? Testifying against Derek in exchange for reduced charges. She's claiming he masterminded everything, that she was coerced. Ruth paused. It's not going to work. We have recordings of her actively participating, suggesting methods. But she's going to try. Will I have to see her? Not if you don't want to. But Naomi, there's something else. The press got hold of the story. It's going to be public soon. You need to prepare yourself. The news broke 2 days later. Local lawyer accused of attempting to murder wife for insurance money. The story spread fast. Naomi's phone exploded with messages from colleagues, old friends, people she hadn't talked to in years. Her company's PR department called to discuss how to handle inquiries. We're behind you 100%, her boss told her. Take all the time you need. Your job is secure. But Cameron's school was worse. Other kids had seen the news. Some parents pulled their children away from him. Others stared with undisguised curiosity. Cameron came home crying 3 days in a row. They're saying Dad tried to kill you because you were a bad wife, Cameron said. They're saying you must have done something to make him want to. Naomi saw red. She stormed into the principal's office the next morning. My son is a victim in this situation, she said. He saved my life. He's traumatized. And your students are bullying him because their parents are gossips. Fix it or I'm going to the school board and the media. The principal, a nervous man named Mr. Henderson, promised to address it immediately. There was an assembly about bullying. Teachers were instructed to shut down any gossip about the case. It helped, but the damage was done. Cameron asked to switch schools. I can't go back there, Mom, he said. Everyone looks at me different. So Naomi started researching new schools, new neighborhoods, new cities even. Maybe they needed a fresh start. Maybe they needed to leave all of this behind. But first they needed to get through the trial. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Hannah Cross, met with them weekly to prepare. She walked Cameron through what testimony would be like, how to stay calm, how to just tell the truth. The defense is going to try to say you misheard, Hannah explained gently. They're going to try to confuse you. But you just stick to what you know you heard. Can you do that? Cameron nodded, but Naomi could see his hands shaking. He's so young, Naomi said to the prosecutor later, outside Cameron's hearing. Is there any way to avoid him testifying? We have the recordings, the evidence, everything else. But his testimony is what proves initial intent. It's what shows this wasn't a sudden decision but a planned murder. Without it, Derek's lawyers might be able to argue for lesser charges. Hannah looked sympathetic. I know it's horrible. But his testimony could be the difference between attempted murder and something much less serious. Then he'll do it, Naomi said. We'll prepare him. They started seeing a therapist, Dr. Lisa Chin, who specialized in childhood trauma. She helped Cameron process everything he was feeling. The betrayal, the fear, the guilt he felt for his father going to jail even though logically he knew it wasn't his fault. You're both doing remarkably well, Dr. Chin said after a few sessions. You're facing this together, supporting each other. That's going to make all the difference. But at night, Naomi lay awake in Simone's guest room, listening to Cameron toss and turn in the room next door. Both of them were having nightmares. Both of them were jumping at sudden noises. Derek was in jail, but the damage he had caused was still destroying them piece by piece. Naomi made a decision. She couldn't wait for the trial to be over to start rebuilding their lives. They needed to start now. She found a new apartment across town, a bright 2-bedroom with good security and a fresh start. She enrolled Cameron in a new school where nobody knew their story. She started boxing classes at the gym, something to help her feel strong and in control of her body again. We're not going to be victims forever, she told Cameron as they packed up their things from Simone's house. We're going to be survivors. There's a difference. What's the difference? Victims let what happened define them. Survivors use what happened to become stronger. She looked at her son. We're going to be okay. Better than okay. We're going to thrive. Cameron looked around at the boxes, at the evidence of their old life being packed away. I want to change my last name, he said suddenly. I don't want to be Cameron Pierce anymore. I want to be Cameron Taylor. Like Aunt Simone. Naomi's throat tightened. Pierce was Derek's name, the name Cameron had been born with. But she understood. He wanted to cut that connection to become someone new. We can do that, she said. After the trial. We'll both change our names. We'll be Taylor together. A fresh start for both of us. The week before they moved into the new apartment, Jennifer Walsh tried to contact Naomi. She sent a letter through her lawyer, asking to meet, saying she had things to explain, that Naomi didn't understand the full story. Ruth brought the letter to their meeting. She wants to talk to you. She says Derek manipulated her, that she's sorry, that she wants to make amends. Naomi read the letter once, then tore it up. No. I don't want to hear her excuses. I don't want her apologies. I don't want anything from her except to see her face consequences. Good, Ruth said. Because anything you say to her could be used in trial. And honestly, she doesn't deserve your time. Moving day was chaotic but hopeful. Simone and Louis helped them carry boxes. The new apartment was on the 3rd floor with big windows that let in lots of light. Cameron picked the bedroom with the view of the park. That first night in their new place, Naomi ordered pizza and they ate on the floor because the furniture wasn't delivered yet. Cameron was quiet, picking at his food. You okay, baby? Yeah. It's just, this is really it, isn't it? This is our life now. Without Dad. Without Derek, Naomi corrected gently. Your dad died when he decided to try to kill me. This man who looks like your dad isn't the person we thought we knew. Do you think he ever really loved us? It was the question Naomi had been asking herself for weeks. I think he did once. I think something changed in him, something broke. But Cameron, that's not our responsibility. We didn't make him into someone who could plan murder. He made those choices himself. They slept in sleeping bags that night, in their new home with new locks and a new security system. Naomi lay awake for a long time, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of a new building, a new neighborhood. She thought about Derek in his jail cell. She thought about Jennifer with her ankle monitor. She thought about the trial that was coming. But mostly she thought about the future. About rebuilding. About showing Cameron that they could survive this and come out stronger. She fell asleep planning. The prosecuting attorney Hannah Cross had a plan, but it required Naomi to be brave one more time. Derek's lawyers are going to argue that you misinterpreted evidence, that the cake was just a thoughtful gift, that the money moves were legitimate business dealings, Hannah explained in her office. What we need is something that shows continued intent after arrest. Something that proves he still sees you as an enemy to be eliminated. You want me to contact him, Naomi said. I want him to contact you. The jail records all calls and visits. If you visit him and he says anything incriminating, we can use it. Or if he tries to threaten you, manipulate you, anything that shows his real character. Absolutely not, Ruth said immediately. You're asking my client to put herself in danger. She'll be behind glass in a monitored visiting room. There's no physical danger. But there could be significant evidence gained. Hannah looked at Naomi. It's your choice. You don't have to do this. Naomi thought about it for a long moment. Seeing Derek again. Hearing his voice. Looking into the eyes of the man who had tried to kill her. I'll do it, she said. But I want Louis there outside the room. And I want to be wired with my own recording device in case anything happens. 3 days later, Naomi walked into the county jail. Louis sat in the waiting area monitoring everything on a concealed device. Naomi wore a small recording device that looked like a necklace. The police knew about it and had approved it as backup. Derek was brought into the visiting room in an orange jumpsuit. He looked terrible. He had lost weight and his eyes were hollow. When he saw Naomi through the glass, his face crumpled. Naomi, he said through the phone. Oh God, Naomi, I'm so sorry. She picked up her phone with a steady hand. Sorry for what, Derek? For all of this. For the misunderstanding. Jennifer and I, we never meant for things to go this far. It was just talk, baby. Just stupid talk. We never would have actually hurt you. The cake had rat poison in it. I don't know anything about that. That must have been all Jennifer. She's crazy, Naomi. I didn't realize how crazy until it was too late. She was obsessed with me, threatening to tell you about the affair if I didn't help her with her money problems. I was trapped. Naomi almost laughed. He was already rewriting history, making himself the victim. The recordings say otherwise. You were actively planning my murder, Derek? His face hardened. Those recordings are taken out of context. My lawyers are going to prove that. And Cameron, what you've done to him, making him think I'm some kind of monster. You tried to kill his mother. I would never hurt you. Never. Derek's voice rose. You know me, Naomi. 13 years. I loved you. I still love you. This is all a huge mistake, and when the trial happens, everyone will see that. Is that what you tell yourself to sleep at night? What I tell myself is that my wife betrayed me. That she's trying to destroy me because she found out about Jennifer and can't handle it. That she's using my son as a weapon against me. There it was. The real Derek emerging. Not the apologetic husband, but the angry man who blamed everyone but himself. Cameron saved my life, Naomi said quietly. He heard you planning to murder me and he stopped it. He's the hero in this story, not the weapon. He's a kid who misunderstood what he heard. My lawyers are going to tear his testimony apart. They're going to show that he's confused, that he's been manipulated by you. Let them try. Derek leaned closer to the glass. You could stop this right now. Drop the charges. Tell the prosecutor it was all a misunderstanding. We could go to counseling, work this out. I made mistakes, I admit that. But we're a family, Naomi. Don't destroy our family over mistakes. You destroyed our family when you bought rat poison and had your girlfriend bake it into a cake. That wasn't me. That was Jennifer. He was shouting now, his face red. I didn't know about the cake until after. She did that on her own. The recordings from my house say different. The ones where you were planning a car accident when the cake failed. Should I remind you what you said? Derek's face went white. He had forgotten about the cameras. In his arrogance, he had thought he was too smart to get caught. You recorded us? His voice was shaking. In our home. My home. You lost all right to that home when you tried to kill me. You sneaky little... He caught himself, but Naomi had seen the flash of rage. The real Derek, the one who had planned her death without a second thought. What were you going to say, Derek? He took a breath, visibly controlling himself. Nothing. I'm sorry. This place, it's making me crazy. Being locked up for something I didn't do. You did do it. And you're going to prison for a very long time. We'll see about that. My lawyers are good. The best money can buy. He smiled and it was cold. You might want to remember that before you go through with this trial. There's going to be a lot of publicity. A lot of people examining your life looking for dirt. Are you sure you want Cameron exposed to all that? Are you threatening us? I'm warning you. Trials get messy. Things come out. I'd hate for Cameron to hear things about his mother that might upset him. Naomi felt cold. What things? Oh, I don't know. Maybe about how you were so focused on your career that you barely had time for your family. Maybe about that conference where you were drinking with your colleague until 2 in the morning. Things could be misinterpreted, couldn't they? Just like you're misinterpreting my conversations with Jennifer. He was already building his defense. Attack Naomi's character, make her look like a bad wife and mother, suggest she was the one having an affair. I've never been unfaithful to you, Naomi said. And everyone who knows me knows I'm a good mother. Do they? Because I could paint a very different picture. The ambitious career woman who left her son with babysitters while she climbed the corporate ladder. Who forgot Cameron's school plays because she was too busy with meetings. Who? You're really going to do this? You're going to try to destroy me in court because I wouldn't let you kill me. I'm going to defend myself against false charges. If that means showing the truth about our marriage, then yes. Derek leaned back. You still have time to make this go away, Naomi. Think about it. Think about what's best for Cameron. Naomi stood up. I have thought about it. Cameron needs to see that actions have consequences. That people who do evil things don't get away with it just because they're family. He needs to see his mother be strong. And most of all, he needs to see you held accountable. You're going to regret this. No, Derek. You're going to regret underestimating me. She hung up the phone and walked out without looking back. In the car with Louis, she was shaking. Louis handed her a bottle of water. You did good, he said. That recording is gold. He admitted there were conversations with Jennifer about you dying. He threatened you and Cameron. His lawyers are going to have a very bad day when they hear that. He's going to try to destroy my character in court, Naomi said. Make me look like a bad wife and mother. Let him try. We've got dozens of people who can testify to what a good mother you are. Your coworkers, your friends, Cameron's teachers. And honestly, even if you had been a bad wife, that doesn't give someone the right to murder you. Louis started the car. He showed his true colors in there. That's what the jury is going to see. That evening, Naomi sat with Cameron and told him about the visit. He's going to say mean things about me in court, she said. About how I worked too much, wasn't home enough. None of it's true, but he's going to try. Everyone knows you're the best mom, Cameron said fiercely. Dad's the one who was never home. Dad's the one who missed my games because he was with that woman. I know, baby. But I want you to be prepared. This trial is going to be ugly. I don't care. I'm going to tell the truth about what I heard. And everyone's going to know what he tried to do. Naomi pulled her son close. When did you get so brave? I learned from you. The next day Hannah called with news. Jennifer's deal fell through. She demanded full immunity and the judge laughed her out of the room. She's going to trial on the same charges as Derek. Will they be tried together? Separate trials but close together. We do Derek first, then Jennifer. Your testimony in his trial will be used in hers. Hannah paused. Naomi, I want you to know that you've built one of the strongest cases I've ever prosecuted. Between the physical evidence, the recordings, the financial records, and Cameron's testimony, this is as close to a sure thing as we get. But Derek's lawyers are going to fight dirty. Let them. I'm not backing down. Good. Because we're going to win this. 2 weeks before the trial, Naomi got a strange call from a number she didn't recognize. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Mrs. Pierce? A woman's voice, scared and young. My name is Rachel. I worked at the restaurant Jennifer tried to open. I heard about the trial and I have information you need to hear. Naomi met Rachel at a coffee shop. The young woman was 23, with nervous eyes and shaking hands. Jennifer talked about you, Rachel said. At the restaurant before it closed. She was always complaining about Derek's wife, how you had everything and didn't appreciate it. How you were standing in the way of her happiness. She said. Rachel swallowed hard. She said Derek was too soft to do what needed to be done, but she wasn't. That was months before the cake incident. Will you testify to this? That's why I called. I want to testify. What she did, what she tried to do to you, it's evil. I can't stay quiet about it. Lewis interviewed Rachel thoroughly, confirmed her story, got corroborating statements from other former restaurant employees. Jennifer had been talking about getting rid of Naomi for almost a year. This destroys her defense, Hannah said with satisfaction. She can't claim she was coerced by Derek when she was talking about murdering you long before they made any concrete plans. She was the instigator. Everything was falling into place. The evidence was overwhelming. The witnesses were solid. Derek and Jennifer had made so many mistakes, left so much evidence behind. But the night before jury selection began, Naomi couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Derek's face during that jail visit, the cold calculation in his eyes. He really thought he could still win. He really believed he could talk his way out of attempted murder. Tomorrow the trial would begin. Tomorrow, everything she and Cameron had survived would be laid bare in a courtroom for strangers to judge. Tomorrow, Derek would try to destroy her reputation to save himself. But she was ready. She had to be ready. For Cameron's sake, for her own sake, for every person who had ever been betrayed by someone they trusted, she had to be ready. The alarm went off at 6. Naomi got up, put on her best suit and prepared to fight. The courthouse was enormous and cold. Naomi walked in flanked by Ruth and Lewis, with Simone holding Cameron's hand behind them. The boy had taken the day off from school to watch jury selection. He needed to see that justice was happening. The hallway outside the courtroom was packed with reporters. Cameras flashed. Questions were shouted. Mrs. Pierce, how do you feel facing your husband today? Do you believe he'll be convicted? What do you want to say to your husband? Ruth had prepared her for this. No comment. Please respect our privacy. Inside the courtroom, Naomi saw Derek for the first time since the jail visit. He sat at the defense table with his two lawyers, looking thin and worn in a gray suit that hung on him. When he saw Cameron, something flickered across his face. Regret? It was gone too quickly to tell. Cameron stared straight ahead, not acknowledging his father. The judge, a stern woman named Judge Patricia Morrison, called the court to order. Jury selection took all day. Question after question about knowledge of the case, ability to be impartial, views on circumstantial evidence. Naomi watched as 12 people were chosen to decide Derek's fate. The actual trial began the next morning. Hannah Cross stood to give the opening statement. This is a case about greed and betrayal. About a man who looked at his wife of 13 years, the mother of his child, and decided she was worth more dead than alive. $2 million to be exact. That's the price Derek Pierce put on Naomi Pierce's life. Hannah walked the jury through the evidence they would see: the poison cake, the insurance policy, the gambling debts, the offshore account, the recordings, Cameron's testimony. The defendant and his accomplice Jennifer Walsh thought they had planned the perfect murder. But they didn't count on one thing: a brave 12-year-old boy who overheard their plans and saved his mother's life. By the end of this trial, you will have no doubt that Derek Pierce attempted to murder his wife for financial gain. Derek's lead attorney, a man named Richard Sterling, stood for his opening. This is a case about a marriage that fell apart. About misunderstandings, miscommunications, and a vengeful wife who couldn't accept that her husband had moved on. Derek Pierce made mistakes. He had an affair. He gambled more than he should have. But having an affair doesn't make someone a murderer. Sterling tried to paint Derek as weak, not evil. A man who had been manipulated by Jennifer, who had made bad financial choices but never intended to harm anyone. He suggested that the conversations on the recordings were fantasies, not plans. That the insurance increase was coincidence. That the cake had been Jennifer's idea alone and Derek knew nothing about it. At the end of this trial, you will see that the only thing Derek Pierce is guilty of is being a bad husband. Not a murderer. Not even close. The prosecution began its case. The forensic specialist testified about the poison in the cake, explaining how brodifacoum works, how much was present, what it would have done to Naomi if she had eaten it. Death would likely have occurred within 48 hours, the expert said. It would have appeared to be a massive hemorrhage, possibly a stroke. Without reason to suspect poisoning, it might never have been detected. The insurance agent testified about Derek increasing Naomi's policy, how insistent he had been, how he had specifically asked about the payout timeline and whether it would be affected if Naomi died in an accident versus natural causes. That was a red flag for me, the agent admitted. But people ask strange questions sometimes. I didn't think it meant he was planning to kill her. Lewis testified about his investigation, about finding the offshore account, about the pattern of financial desperation. Both Derek Pierce and Jennifer Walsh were in serious financial trouble, Lewis explained. They needed money fast. The insurance policy was their solution. Then came the recordings. The courtroom listened in silence as Derek's voice filled the room. She didn't eat the cake. I don't understand. It was her favorite. We'll figure something out. Maybe we can try something else. Make it look like an accident. Car accident. Brake failure. I can mess with her car when she's asleep. The jury's faces were shocked. Several took notes furiously. Derek kept his eyes on the table, not looking up. The jail visit recording came next. Derek threatening to destroy Naomi's character. Derek blaming Jennifer but admitting there had been conversations about Naomi dying. When Hannah rested the prosecution's case at the end of the week, Naomi felt exhausted. She had testified for 6 hours, walking through every detail of her marriage, the discovery, the investigation. Derek's lawyers had tried to make her look paranoid, vindictive, a woman scorned who had manufactured evidence. Isn't it true that you were angry about the affair? Sterling had asked. I was angry that my husband tried to kill me, Naomi had replied. But you didn't know about the alleged murder plot until after you found out about the affair, correct? My son told me about the murder plot. That's how I found out about the affair. And you expect this jury to believe that your 12-year-old son correctly understood a complex conversation between adults? I expect this jury to listen to the recordings where my husband clearly discusses killing me and then judge for themselves. That had earned an objection, but Naomi had made her point. Now it was the defense's turn. Derek's lawyers called character witnesses, his parents, his colleagues, his golf buddies. They all said the same thing. Derek was a good man, incapable of murder, clearly being framed by a bitter wife. But under cross-examination their stories fell apart. You say Derek was a devoted father, Hannah said to Derek's mother. How many of Cameron's soccer games did Derek attend last year? I'm not sure. According to the team records, Cameron had 15 games. Derek attended 3. Does that sound devoted to you? Patricia Pierce had no answer. Derek's colleague testified that Derek had been stressed about money but never mentioned killing anyone. But Hannah pulled out phone records showing this same colleague had been at the casino with Derek multiple times, had even loaned Derek money to gamble with. So you were enabling his gambling addiction, Hannah said. That makes you an unreliable witness to his state of mind, doesn't it? The defense's case was weak and everyone knew it. But Sterling had one last card to play. He put Derek on the stand. Derek testified for 2 days. He cried as he talked about his marriage to Naomi, how much he had loved her, how things had fallen apart. He admitted to the affair with Jennifer but painted himself as a victim of her manipulation. She threatened to tell Naomi if I didn't help her with her money problems, Derek said. I was trapped. Every conversation we had, she was pushing me to do terrible things. I never wanted to hurt Naomi. I never intended for any of this to happen. What about the recordings? Sterling asked. Where you discuss killing your wife? I was playing along with Jennifer's fantasies. I thought if I just agreed with her, she would calm down, realize how crazy it all was. I never thought she would actually send a poisoned cake. When Cameron told Naomi what he overheard, I was horrified. That's when I realized how serious Jennifer was. Why didn't you go to the police? I was scared. I was in too deep. I thought if I could just get Jennifer to stop, we could all move on. It was a good performance. Derek was convincing when he cried, when he talked about loving his son, when he expressed regret. But Hannah destroyed him on cross-examination. You increased your wife's life insurance by $2 million. When was that? About 3 months ago. And when did you start gambling heavily? Around the same time. Convenient timing. You needed money, so you increased the insurance policy on your wife's life. Hannah pulled out financial records. You lost $30,000 in one weekend at Atlantic City, correct? Yes. And you had told your wife you were at a legal conference. Yes. So you lied to her. Yes. You lied about the gambling. You lied about the affair. You lied about the money. But you're asking this jury to believe you're telling the truth about the murder plot. Derek's face flushed. I am telling the truth. Hannah played the recordings again. That's your voice saying you'll tamper with her car. That's you discussing how to make her death look like an accident. That's you breaking into her house with Jennifer to destroy evidence. How do you explain that? I wasn't thinking clearly. Jennifer had me so confused. Confused enough to discuss the details of killing your wife? Confused enough to open an offshore bank account with Jennifer? Confused enough to plan what you'd do with the insurance money? Derek had no good answers. The more he talked, the worse he looked. His story kept changing. His excuses grew weaker. When he finally stepped down from the stand, Naomi could see he knew. He had lost. Cameron was called to testify on the trial's final day. He walked to the stand with his shoulders back, looking small but brave in his blue suit. Naomi wanted to run to him to pull him away from this, but she sat still. Hannah questioned him gently. "Cameron, can you tell the jury what you heard on October 15th? Cameron's voice was steady. "I was walking home from my friend Isaiah's house. I saw my dad's car parked near the coffee shop. The windows were partly down. I heard my dad and Miss Jennifer talking." "What did they say?" "Miss Jennifer said that she would handle it, that she knew what to put in a cake to make it look like a heart attack. My dad said something about insurance money and starting over." "What did you do after you heard this?" "I didn't understand at first. I thought maybe I heard wrong. But I kept watching Miss Jennifer. She came to our house twice when Mom was at work. Then a cake was delivered with a card signed J. That's when I knew. I ran home from Isaiah's house as fast as I could because I saw Mom about to eat it." Sterling tried to shake Cameron's testimony but failed. The boy was clear, consistent, unwavering. "Isn't it possible you misunderstood what you heard?" "No, sir. Maybe they were talking about a movie or a book? They were talking about killing my mom. I know what I heard." "Has your mother coached you on what to say?" "My mother told me to tell the truth. That's what I'm doing." When Cameron stepped down, there were tears on several jurors' faces. Closing arguments were brief. Hannah reminded the jury of the overwhelming evidence. Sterling made one last plea that Derek was weak but not evil. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they came back, the foreperson stood. "We find the defendant guilty on all counts. Attempted murder in the first degree, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud." Derek's face went white. His mother screamed. His lawyers immediately began talking about appeals. But it was over. Judge Morrison set sentencing for 3 weeks later. Derek was remanded without bail. In the hallway, Naomi held Cameron as reporters swarmed. "How do you feel about the verdict?" "Relieved," Naomi said. "Justice was served." "Cameron, do you have anything to say to your father?" Cameron looked at the camera. "I hope he gets help. But mostly, I hope he understands that actions have consequences." That night, Naomi and Cameron went to Simone's house. They ordered Chinese food and watched Cameron's favorite movies. They didn't talk about the trial or Derek or any of it. For the first time in months, they just existed together, mother and son, safe and whole. The nightmare was almost over. Jennifer Walsh's trial began 3 weeks later. Naomi had hoped she wouldn't have to testify again, but Hannah needed her to establish the timeline and the relationship dynamics. This trial was faster than Derek's. The evidence was largely the same, but Jennifer's defense was different. Her lawyer, a woman named Patricia Norton, tried to portray Jennifer as a victim of Derek's manipulation. "My client was in love," Norton said in her opening statement. "She was in a desperate financial situation, and Derek Pierce took advantage of that. He convinced her that his wife was standing in the way of their happiness. He slowly, methodically, turned my client into someone she never thought she could be." But the prosecution had Rachel's testimony. The young restaurant worker took the stand and described Jennifer's months of angry rants about Naomi. "She talked about Naomi like she was an obstacle to be removed," Rachel said. "She said Derek was too weak to do what needed to be done. This was before the cake, before any concrete plans. Jennifer was the one pushing for action." The physical evidence told the story. Jennifer had purchased the ingredients to make the cake. Her fingerprints were on the card. Phone records showed she had called Tommy Ricci, the dealer who had sold her the rat poison, 3 times in the week before the cake was delivered. Tommy Ricci himself testified as part of a plea deal. "She asked me if I knew anything that could cause a heart attack," he said. "Said it needed to be untraceable. I sold her the Brodificum. She paid cash." Jennifer took the stand in her own defense. She was a good actress, crying at the right moments, looking remorseful and broken. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," she sobbed. "Derek told me that Naomi was abusive, that she was making his life miserable, that the only way he could be free was if she was gone. I believed him. I thought I was helping him escape a terrible situation." "Did you make the cake?" Norton asked. "Yes. But I didn't know what I was putting in it. Derek gave me the powder. He said it was a sedative, that it would just make her sleep so we could talk to her, make her understand. I didn't know it was poison until after, when the police arrested me. It was a lie, and Hannah proved it on cross-examination. You called Tommy Ricci yourself, correct? Derek asked me to. Tommy Ricci testified that you specifically asked for something that could cause a heart attack. Was Derek standing next to you during that call? No, but he told me what to say. Really? Because Tommy said you seemed very knowledgeable about what you wanted. That you asked specific questions about dosage and timing. Jennifer faltered. I don't remember the exact conversation. Hannah pulled out phone records. You called Tommy 3 times. Derek called him 0 times. You met Tommy in person to get the poison. Derek was at work that day with multiple witnesses confirming his presence. You made these decisions yourself, didn't you? Derek knew about it. I'm not asking if Derek knew. I'm asking if you made the decisions. Did you purchase the poison? Yes. Did you bake the cake? Yes. Did you add the poison to the frosting? Yes, but... Did you write the card and have the cake delivered to Naomi Pierce's home? Yes. So you did all of this yourself. Derek wasn't even there. Jennifer was crying now, but they weren't sympathetic tears anymore. They were angry, frustrated tears. He wanted me to. He told me to. But he was too scared to do it himself. So Derek was scared to commit murder, but you weren't? I did it for us. For our future. You did it for $2 million. The jury looked disgusted. Jennifer's defense had collapsed into exactly what the prosecution had said all along. She was a willing participant, possibly even the instigator. The recordings from Naomi's house were played. Jennifer's voice discussing the failed cake, suggesting the car accident, talking about the insurance money. In every conversation she was engaged, enthusiastic even. You're going to be rich, Jennifer had said on one recording. We're both going to be rich. Finally, everything we deserve. When Naomi testified, Norton tried to make her seem cold and unforgiving. You feel no sympathy for Jennifer? A woman who was clearly manipulated by your husband. I feel sorry that she made the choices she did, Naomi said carefully. But I don't believe she was manipulated. The evidence shows she was an active, willing participant in planning my murder. Sympathy doesn't change that. Your husband is the real villain in this story, isn't he? They're both villains. They both tried to kill me. They both deserve to be held accountable. Cameron didn't have to testify in Jennifer's trial, and for that Naomi was grateful. He had been through enough. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Jennifer's face crumpled. She had to be helped from the courtroom by her lawyer. Derek's sentencing was scheduled first. Judge Morrison looked at him with clear distaste. Mr. Pierce, you betrayed every trust placed in you. You betrayed your wife, your son, your profession. You looked at the mother of your child and decided she was worth more dead than alive. The law allows me to sentence you to 25 years to life. I'm inclined to give you the maximum. Derek's lawyers argued for leniency. They talked about his previously clean record, his contributions to the community, his remorse. Judge Morrison wasn't moved. 25 years to life on the attempted murder charge. 10 years on the conspiracy charge to run consecutively. 35 years minimum before you're eligible for parole. Bailiff, take him away. Derek looked at Naomi as he was let out. She stared back without flinching. She felt no pity, no sadness. Only relief. Jennifer's sentencing was 3 days later. Norton argued that Jennifer was less culpable than Derek, that she had been influenced by his manipulation. Judge Morrison wasn't buying it. Ms. Walsh, you baked poison into a cake and sent it to an innocent woman's home. You researched methods of murder. You were caught on recording celebrating the insurance money you planned to receive. The fact that you were having an affair with the victim's husband doesn't mitigate your guilt. It makes it worse. 20 years to life on attempted murder. 8 years on conspiracy to run consecutively. 28 years minimum. Jennifer sobbed as she was led away. Naomi felt nothing. Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered again. How do you feel now that both defendants have been sentenced? Relieved. Grateful for the justice system. Ready to move forward with my life. Cameron, how are you doing? Cameron stood close to his mother. I'm okay. I'm glad it's over. Do you have any message for your father? No, Cameron said simply. They walked away from the cameras, from the courthouse, from the end of the legal battle that had consumed their lives for months. In the car, Cameron was quiet. You okay, baby? Naomi asked. Yeah. I thought I'd feel different when it was over. I thought I'd feel happy or something. But I just feel tired. That's normal. We've been running on adrenaline for so long. Now that it's finally done, the exhaustion catches up. Do you think Dad will really be in prison for 35 years? At minimum. He might never get out. Good, Cameron said, and then immediately looked guilty. Is it bad that I think that? No. It's honest. He tried to kill me. He betrayed both of us. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to want him to face consequences. I don't think I'll ever visit him. You don't have to. That's your choice, and whatever you decide, I'll support you. They drove home in comfortable silence. Their new apartment didn't feel so new anymore. It felt like home. Cameron had friends at his new school. Naomi had settled into a routine at work. They had built a life in the aftermath of destruction. That night, Naomi couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about Derek in prison, Jennifer in prison, both of them locked away for decades. She had won. Justice had been served. So why did she still feel so hollow? She went to Cameron's room. He was awake too, staring at the ceiling. Can't sleep either? She asked. No. She lay down next to him like she used to when he was little. They stared at the ceiling together. Mom, do you think we'll ever feel normal again? I think we'll feel different. Not the same as before, but not broken either. Somewhere in between. Better, eventually. How long will that take? I don't know, baby. As long as it takes. They fell asleep like that, mother and son, survivors of attempted murder, holders of justice, and builders of a new life. The next morning, Naomi woke up and realized something. She wasn't thinking about Derek or Jennifer. She was thinking about what to make for breakfast. She was thinking about Cameron's upcoming science fair. She was thinking about normal things, mundane things, good things. It was a start. 3 months after the sentencing, Naomi and Cameron stood in front of a judge again. But this time it was for something good. Naomi Taylor, the judge said, signing the papers. And Cameron Taylor. Your name change is officially approved. Congratulations. Cameron grinned. Naomi felt lighter somehow. Pierce was gone. They were Taylors now, named after Simone, the sister of Naomi's heart. A new identity for a new life. How does it feel? Simone asked afterward over lunch. Like closing a door, Naomi said. Like finally being able to say that part of my life is completely finished. Are you going to tell people at work? Already did. HR processed the paperwork yesterday. It'll take some people time to adjust, but I don't care. I'm not carrying Derek's name anymore. Cameron was quieter than usual, pushing food around his plate. What's wrong, baby? Naomi asked. Nothing's wrong. I kinda miss having the same last name as Dad. Is that weird? No, it's not weird. He was your father for 12 years. It's okay to miss parts of that, to feel complicated about it. But I don't miss him. I miss who I thought he was. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. They had been seeing Dr. Chin twice a week since the trial ended. The therapy was helping, slowly but surely. Dr. Chin taught them coping mechanisms for the anxiety, the nightmares, the triggers. She helped Cameron understand that his father's actions weren't a reflection on him. She helped Naomi work through the betrayal and rebuild her ability to trust. You're both doing remarkably well, Dr. Chin said in one session. But healing isn't linear. There will be good days and bad days. The important thing is you're facing this together. The bad days were hard. Cameron had panic attacks sometimes, convinced that someone was trying to hurt his mother. Naomi had nightmares about eating that cake, about dying and leaving Cameron alone. They both jumped at unexpected sounds, checked locks multiple times, struggled to feel safe. But the good days were getting more frequent. Naomi threw herself into work. She had been promoted to regional director, partially because of her skills but also because her boss recognized that she needed something positive to focus on. The new role was challenging and time-consuming, but it gave her purpose. You're doing amazing things here, her boss told her during a quarterly review. The team respects you. Clients love you. We're lucky to have you. Thank you. I needed to hear that today. Bad day. Anniversary. 1 year since I found out about the murder plot. Take the afternoon off. Be with your son. Work will be here tomorrow. She did. She picked Cameron up from school early and they went to the movies, something they hadn't done in months. They bought too much popcorn and sat in the back row and just existed together without thinking about the past or worrying about the future. This is nice, Cameron said as they walked to the car afterward. Just being normal. Yeah, Naomi agreed. It is. Cameron had joined the soccer team at his new school and was thriving. Sports gave him an outlet for his stress, a place to be just another kid. Naomi went to every game, cheering from the sidelines, connecting with other parents, building a community. One of the other soccer moms, a woman named Angela, invited them to a barbecue. "I know you're new to the area," Angela said. "And I know you've been through a lot. No pressure, but if you want to come, you're welcome. Cameron can play with the other kids." Naomi almost said no. She wasn't ready for social situations, for questions, for people knowing her story. But Cameron's face was hopeful, and she realized he needed this. He needed to see his mother being normal, making friends, moving forward. "We'd love to come," Naomi said. The barbecue was surprisingly fun. The other parents were kind and respectful. A few knew about the trial, but nobody brought it up. They talked about school, sports, the neighborhood, normal things. Cameron played with the other kids, laughing and running and just being 12. Naomi talked with Angela about work, about raising kids in the city, about finding good restaurants nearby. For a few hours, she forgot to be the woman whose husband tried to kill her. She was just Naomi, a working mom at a neighborhood barbecue. "You should come to book club," Angela suggested. "It's just a few of us once a month. More about drinking wine than actually reading the books, to be honest." "That sounds perfect," Naomi said, and meant it. She joined the book club. She started going to the gym regularly, taking kickboxing classes that made her feel strong and capable. She got a new haircut, shorter and more modern. Redecorated the apartment, choosing bright colors and comfortable furniture. She was rebuilding herself piece by piece. Cameron seemed to be healing too. His grades were good. He had friends. He was sleeping better most nights. But sometimes, Naomi would find him staring at nothing, lost in thought. "What are you thinking about?" she asked one evening. "Do you think Dad thinks about us? In prison? I don't know. Maybe. Do you think he's sorry?" "I think he's sorry he got caught. I don't know if he's sorry for what he did." Cameron nodded. "That's what I think too." Derek had written letters. They came every few weeks, addressed to Cameron. Naomi opened them first to make sure they were safe, that they weren't manipulative or harmful. Most were just Derek trying to rewrite history, claiming he never meant to hurt anyone, asking Cameron to visit, saying how much he missed his son. "Do you want to read them?" Naomi always asked. "No," Cameron always answered. Naomi kept the letters in a box in her closet. Maybe someday Cameron would want to see them. Maybe not. That was his choice to make. Jennifer's family reached out once, asking if they could talk to Naomi. She refused. She had nothing to say to them, and they had nothing she wanted to hear. "Jennifer's mother wants you to know that her daughter wasn't a bad person," the lawyer had said. "That she made mistakes, but she's still human." "She tried to kill me," Naomi had replied. "Tell her mother I'm glad she loves her daughter, but I'm not interested in humanizing someone who baked poison into a cake." A year after the trial, Naomi was invited to speak at a conference for domestic violence survivors. At first she said no. She didn't think of herself as a domestic violence victim. Derek had never hit her, never physically harmed her. But Ruth convinced her to reconsider. Financial abuse is domestic violence. Coercive control is domestic violence. Attempted murder is definitely domestic violence. Your story matters. You could help people. So Naomi said yes. She stood on a stage in front of 200 people and told her story. She talked about the betrayal, the investigation, the trial. She talked about healing and rebuilding and learning to trust again. She talked about Cameron's bravery and her own determination. "The best revenge," she said at the end, "isn't getting even. It's living well. It's building a life so good that the person who tried to destroy you becomes irrelevant. Derek is in prison, but even if he wasn't, I would still be here. I would still be thriving. Because I refused to let him take anything else from me." The standing ovation made her cry. Afterward, dozens of people wanted to talk to her, to share their own stories, to thank her for speaking. One woman grabbed her hand. "My husband has been threatening to kill me for months," the woman whispered. "I've been too scared to leave. But hearing your story, seeing how you survived and built something better, it gave me hope. I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave." "Please be careful," Naomi said. "Please get help. Talk to the police, talk to a lawyer. Don't do it alone." "I will. Thank you." Naomi left the conference feeling different. Lighter. Purpose-driven. Her trauma hadn't destroyed her. It had transformed her. She was stronger now, wiser, more compassionate. She would never have chosen this path, but now that she was on it, she was going to make it mean something. That night, she and Cameron ordered pizza and watched a comedy movie. They laughed until their stomachs hurt. They ate too much ice cream. They fell asleep on the couch together. When Naomi woke up at 2 in the morning, she looked at her sleeping son and felt overwhelming gratitude. They had survived. They were healing. They were going to be okay. No, they were going to be better than okay. They were going to be happy. 18 months after the trial, Naomi stood in front of a commercial building downtown, looking at a sign that read, Taylor Consulting Strategic Marketing Solutions. Her business. Her name. Her dream. She had spent a year planning this. Working her corporate job during the day, building her business plan at night. Saving money, networking, signing her first clients. And now here it was. Real. Official. Hers. Simone stood next to her taking pictures. I'm so proud of you. Look at you, CO. Small business owner, Naomi corrected with a smile. CO sounds too fancy. CO, Simone insisted. You're running your own company. You're the boss. Own it. The office was small but bright, with big windows and modern furniture. Naomi had hired 2 employees, a graphic designer and a social media specialist. She had 5 clients lined up, with 3 more in negotiations. It's scary, Naomi admitted. What if it fails? Then you'll figure it out. But it won't fail. You're too smart and too determined. Cameron was doing well too. At 14 now, he was taller than Naomi and looked more like a young man than a boy. He had made the school's honor roll 3 terms in a row. He was captain of the soccer team. He had started volunteering at a youth center, mentoring younger kids. I want to help people, he had told Naomi. Like the people who helped us. He was also in the robotics club and had just won first place in a regional science competition. His project was a security system that used facial recognition and alert systems to help protect people in their homes. I wanted to build something that could help other families stay safe, he explained to the judges. Something that could prevent what happened to my mom from happening to someone else. When he won, Naomi cried. Her son had taken his trauma and turned it into something helpful, something innovative. He was going to be something special. The nightmares had mostly stopped for both of them. They still went to therapy monthly just to check in, but the acute crisis phase was over. They were in the maintenance phase now, the living and growing phase. Naomi had started dating. Nothing serious, just coffee dates and occasional dinners. It was terrifying and awkward and surprisingly fun. She wasn't ready for anything deep, but she was ready to remember that not all men were like Derek. She had met someone nice at a charity auction. His name was Graham, and he was a high school teacher with a kind smile and easy laugh. They had been on 4 dates and he still hadn't tried to kiss her. She appreciated his patience. Take your time, he had said when she explained she was coming out of a difficult situation. I'm not going anywhere. She didn't tell him the full story yet. That would come later if they got more serious. For now, it was enough to enjoy his company, to feel attractive and interesting again, to remember what it was like to connect with someone. Cameron liked him. He's nice, Mom. And he's not trying too hard, you know? That's good. You're very mature for 14. I had to grow up fast. That broke Naomi's heart a little. But Cameron seemed okay. More than okay. He was thriving. Taylor Consulting grew faster than Naomi expected. Within 6 months, she had 15 clients and had to hire 3 more employees. Within a year, she was featured in a business magazine as one of the city's fastest-growing small businesses. How did you do it? The interviewer asked. I decided that I wasn't going to let the worst thing that ever happened to me become the only thing that defined me, Naomi said. I survived attempted murder. Starting a business seemed easy in comparison. The article went viral. Suddenly, Naomi was getting speaking invitations, networking requests, mentorship opportunities. She was becoming known not as the woman whose husband tried to kill her, but as a successful entrepreneur and survivor advocate. You're kind of famous, Cameron teased. I'm kind of busy, Naomi corrected. There's a difference. But she accepted some of the invitations. She spoke at women's business conferences, at survivor support groups, at high schools about resilience and determination. She used her platform to help others, to show that trauma didn't have to be an ending. Could be a beginning. 2 years after the trial, Naomi bought a house. A real house with a yard and 3 bedrooms and a home office where she could work. Cameron picked the bedroom with the best light for his growing collection of science equipment. Naomi chose the master bedroom with the view of the park. They painted the walls bright colors. They hung pictures of happy moments. Cameron's soccer games, Taylor Consulting's ribbon-cutting ceremony, family dinners with Simone. There were no pictures of Derek anywhere. He was a chapter that had closed. This is home, Cameron said, looking around his new room. This is really home. Yes, it is. The house felt safe in a way their old house never had. They had a security system, yes, but more than that, they had peace. They had built this together, chosen this together, made it theirs together. Naomi threw a housewarming party. Angela and the other soccer moms came. Simone brought her new boyfriend. Naomi's employees came. Graham came and helped set up the grill. The house was full of laughter and music and people who cared about them. "Look at you," Simone said, finding Naomi in the kitchen. "You're happy. Really happy." "I am," Naomi said, surprised by the truth of it. "I really am." That night, after everyone left, Naomi and Cameron sat on the back porch looking at the stars. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you ever forgive Dad? In your head, I mean. Not tell him or anything, but just for yourself." Naomi thought about it. "I don't know if forgiveness is the right word. I've accepted what happened. I've moved past it. But I don't think I need to forgive him to be happy. Some things are unforgivable and that's okay." "I feel the same way. Dr. Chin says I should work toward forgiveness for my own peace, but I don't think I need that. I'm at peace anyway." "Then you don't need it. Healing looks different for everyone." Cameron leaned against her shoulder. "I'm glad we made it, Mom. I'm glad we're here." "Me too, baby. Me too." Inside the house, Naomi's phone buzzed with a work email. A potential client wanted to meet next week. She'd respond tomorrow. Tonight was for sitting with her son under the stars in their home, in their life, in the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. Derek was still in prison. Jennifer was still in prison. And Naomi was here, alive, thriving, happy. It was the best revenge she could have asked for. 3 years after that terrible day when Cameron stopped her from eating the poison cake, Naomi stood on another stage. This one was bigger, fancier, with television cameras and an audience of thousands. The magazine had named her one of the top 50 entrepreneurs under 40. Cameron sat in the front row, now 15 and growing into a confident young man. Graham sat next to him, holding Naomi's purse. They had been dating for a year now, taking things slow but steady. He was good to Cameron, respected Naomi's boundaries, and never pushed for more than she was ready to give. "It's an honor to be here," Naomi said into the microphone. 3 years ago, I didn't think I'd be alive today. Someone tried to take my life, my future, my child's mother. But I survived. My son saved me, and together we built something better than what we lost." She talked about Taylor Consulting, which now had 23 employees and offices in 3 cities. She talked about the scholarship fund she had started for children of domestic violence survivors. She talked about finding purpose in pain. "Success isn't about money or awards or recognition," she said. "It's about waking up every day and choosing to build instead of break. Choosing to grow instead of shrink. Choosing life over death in every small way. That's my revenge. I'm alive. I'm happy. And the people who tried to destroy me are utterly irrelevant to my joy." The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, in the hotel suite, Naomi kicked off her heels and collapsed on the couch. Cameron and Graham joined her, all 3 of them exhausted but happy. "You killed it, Mom," Cameron said. "That speech was perfect." "You made people cry," Graham added. "In a good way." Naomi's phone was exploding with messages. Congratulations from clients, from friends, from strangers who had heard her story. But one message caught her eye. It was from Derek's mother, Patricia. "I saw your speech. I'm happy you're doing well. Derek asks about you and Cameron sometimes. I think he regrets everything. Would you consider letting Cameron visit? Just once." Naomi showed the message to Cameron. "What do you think?" "No," Cameron said without hesitation. "I don't want to see him. Not now, not ever. Is that okay?" "It's more than okay. It's your choice." She typed a response. "Cameron has made his choice not to have contact with Derek. Please respect that. I wish you well, Patricia, but this door is closed." Felt good to say no. To protect her son's peace. To not feel guilty about it. That night, the 3 of them ordered room service and watched movies. Graham held Naomi's hand. Cameron sprawled across the other couch, completely comfortable. This was her family now. Not by blood with Graham, but by choice. By love. By the bonds forged in healing. A month later, Taylor Consulting signed their biggest client yet. A multinational corporation that would triple their revenue. Naomi celebrated by taking Cameron on a vacation to Hawaii, something they had always talked about but never done. They snorkeled and hiked and ate tropical fruit on the beach. Cameron tried surfing and fell approximately 100 times but kept getting back up, laughing. Naomi got a massage and read 3 novels and didn't think about work once. "This is the best vacation ever," Cameron said on their last night, watching the sunset over the ocean. "It really is." "Mom, I've been thinking about something." "Yeah. I want to change my legal name one more time. Not the last name, just the middle name." "What do you want to change it to?" "Justice. Cameron Justice Taylor. Because that's what saved us. And that's what I want to study in college. Criminal justice. I want to be a prosecutor like Miss Cross. I want to help people get justice like we did. Naomi's eyes filled with tears. Her son wanted to turn his trauma into purpose, wanted to help others the way they had been helped. I think that's beautiful. And I think you'll be amazing at it. When they got home, there was a letter waiting from the prison. Derek had written again. Naomi opened it out of curiosity. The letter was different this time. Less manipulation, more reflection. Derek wrote about his therapy in prison, about finally facing what he had done, about the shame he carried. He didn't ask for forgiveness or a visit. He just said he was sorry and that he understood he had destroyed everything good in his life. Do you believe him? Simone asked when Naomi showed her the letter. I don't know. And honestly, it doesn't matter. His apology doesn't change what he did. It doesn't undo the trauma. Maybe he has changed. Maybe he hasn't. Either way, it's not my concern anymore. She put the letter in the box with the others and forgot about it. Life kept moving forward. Cameron got accepted into a prestigious prep school with a full scholarship. Graham proposed, but Naomi said she needed more time. He understood and said he'd wait as long as she needed. Taylor Consulting won several industry awards. Naomi was invited to speak at a TED conference. How did I get here? She asked Simone one day. 3 years ago I was terrified and traumatized. Now look at me. You worked hard. You chose healing over bitterness. You built instead of broke. Simone hugged her. You earned this happiness. The nightmares were completely gone now. Naomi slept soundly every night. She didn't jump at sudden sounds. She didn't check the locks obsessively. She didn't scrutinize everyone she met for signs of betrayal. She had healed. So had Cameron. He was a happy, well-adjusted teenager with good grades, good friends, and big dreams. He talked about his experience sometimes, in controlled ways that showed he had processed it. He volunteered at a crisis hotline. He wrote an essay about survival that won a national competition. You're going to change the world, Naomi told him. I'm going to try, he said. Like you did. 4 years after the poison cake, Naomi received a call from the prison. Derek had been in a fight with another inmate and was in the hospital. As his next of kin, technically still his wife until the divorce was final, she was being notified. Is he going to be okay? She asked. Yes. Bruised ribs, nothing serious. Thank you for letting me know. She hung up and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no pity, no concern. Derek was a stranger who had once tried to kill her. His well-being was no longer her responsibility. She didn't tell Cameron. There was no need to disrupt his peace with news about a father he had moved past. Instead, she focused on her own life. On her business that was thriving. On her son who was flourishing. On Graham, who had become her partner in all the best ways. On the home they had built from ashes. The divorce finalized quietly. Derek didn't contest it. He signed away parental rights without a fight, understanding that Cameron wanted nothing to do with him. Naomi was officially, legally free. How do you feel? Dr. Chin asked in their quarterly check-in session. Light, Naomi said. Like I'm not carrying anything anymore. Like I'm just me, not me with this horrible history. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. That's what healing looks like. On the 5-year anniversary of Cameron saving her life, Naomi threw a party. Not a big event, just close friends and family. A celebration of survival, of resilience, of life. Speech, someone called out. Naomi stood with her glass raised. 5 years ago, someone tried to take my life. They failed. Not only did they fail to kill me, they failed to break me. Cameron and I are stronger now than we've ever been. We've built a life that's fuller, richer, happier than what we lost. So this toast is to survival. To justice. To building something beautiful from something terrible. To revenge being living well. Everyone raised their glasses. Cameron stood and hugged his mother tight. I'm proud of us, he whispered. Me too, baby. Me too. Later, when everyone had gone home, Naomi stood alone in her kitchen. The same place where, 5 years ago, she had been seconds from eating poison. But now this kitchen was in a different house, a better house, a house filled with joy instead of secrets. She thought about Derek in prison. About Jennifer in prison. About how they had tried to end her story and instead had just forced her to write a better one. She thought about Taylor Consulting and all they had achieved. About Cameron's scholarship and his dreams of becoming a prosecutor. About Graham, patient and kind, waiting for her to be ready. About her speaking engagements and the people she had helped. About the life she had built from ruins. Derek had tried to kill her for money. But in doing so he had set her free. Free from a bad marriage, from a life that was comfortable but not fulfilling, from a man who never deserved her. The best revenge wasn't getting even. It was this. Standing in her own kitchen, in her own house, with her successful business and her thriving son and her bright future. Living a life so good that Derek became nothing more than a cautionary tale, a chapter that ended badly but led to something wonderful. Naomi smiled and turned off the kitchen light. Tomorrow she had meetings with new clients. Cameron had a soccer tournament. Graham was cooking dinner. Life was full and good and entirely hers. She had survived. She had healed. She had thrived. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.